Hello, my name is Kyle Martin, and today I'm going to tell you why you should wear a mask when you go out into public. Coronavirus is a dangerous virus, and we all need to do our part to stop the spread. Today I'm going to talk about the virus itself and why it is so dangerous. I will also touch on what we can do as a society to put a stop to this fast-spreading deadly disease. But first, let's learn a little more about the virus and what makes this virus so deadly. The term coronavirus includes a family of 7 known viruses that cause respiratory tract illness that can go from the common cold to deadly illnesses, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. COVID-19 is the first pandemic known to be caused by the emergence of a new coronavirus. According to the CDC, COVID-19 illness have ranged from mild with no reported symptoms to severe to the point of requiring hospitalization. In some cases, COVID-19 illness can even lead to death. While people of all ages can be affected, the risk of complications increases with old age. So people in their 50s, for instance, are at higher risk for illness than those in their 40s and younger. People living in a nursing home or 85 and older are also at higher risk of complications. COVID-19 has also led to serious illnesses and even death in younger and healthy adults. While most children have mild or no symptoms, some have gotten very sick. As with adults, even if children have no symptoms, they can spread the virus to others. The main way COVID-19 is thought to spread is through droplets. When a person who has the virus breathes, coughs, sings, sneezes, or talks, and another person inhales those droplets through the airways, mouth, nose, and lungs, according to the CDC. Evidence is growing that the droplets can stay in the air and travel beyond 6 feet indoors. In the spring, public health experts directed their efforts toward flattening the curve, as they called it. Flattening the curve would mean there would be fewer patients during a period of time, and hospitals would be better able to manage the demands of patients who are sick with COVID-19 and for people in there unrelated for COVID-19. But this fall, a steady increase in cases in the U.S. is becoming what some people are describing as a third wave, or maybe a third peak, if not a continuation of the wave that started in the spring and has never stopped. As cold weather drives more people indoors, many government officials around the country are putting a stop to some of the plans they had to reopen, adding new restrictions that include curfews, limiting the number of people who can gather indoors, and establishing mask mandates. In the early stages of infection, COVID-19 is able to deceive the body. Coronavirus can be running in our lungs and airways, and yet our immune system thinks everything is okay. This virus is brilliant. It allows you to have a viral factor in your nose and feel completely well, says Professor Leonard from the University of Cambridge. Our body's cells start releasing chemicals called interferons, says Professor Leonard. Once they are being hijacked by a virus, this is a warning signal that the cells send out to the rest of the body and the immune system. But the coronavirus has a way of stopping this chemical warning. It even prevents you from feeling sick. When you look at infected cells in a laboratory, you cannot tell they have been infected, and yet tests show they are screaming with the virus. And this is just one of the many pranks the virus can play on your body. The amount of virus in our body begins to peak the day before we begin to feel sick. But it takes at least a week before COVID-19 progresses to the point where people need hospital treatment. So the virus is like a dangerous driver fleeing the scene. The virus has moved on to the next victim long before you've noticed, recovered, or have even died. Professor Tracy from University of Manchester said this is a new one, meaning the virus. So we don't think there's much prior immunity here. The newness of COVID-19 can be quite a shock to your immune system. Learning to fight a new infection involves a lot of trial and error for the immune system. Now that I've talked about why COVID-19 is so deadly and dangerous, let's talk about how to actually prevent some of the death and the dangers that come with the virus. There are many things you can do to protect yourself and the people you interact with. The best thing you can do at this point is take care of yourself the way you'd prevent yourself from getting the flu. You know you can get the flu when you sneeze or cough, or are near a sick person or somebody with a lot of germs. Washing hands, especially before eating and touching your face, and after going to the bathroom, and avoiding other people who have flu-like symptoms are the best strategies at this point, experts are saying. Another huge way to protect yourself and others is wearing a mask. There are several strands of evidence supporting the efficiency of masks. One form of evidence comes from the laboratory studies of respiratory droplets and the ability of various masks to block them. An experiment using high-speed video found that hundreds of droplets, ranging from 20 to 500 micrometers, were generated when saying a simple phrase, but that nearly all these droplets were blocked when the mouth was covered by a damp washcloth. Another study of people who had influenza or the common cold found that wearing a surgical mask significantly reduced the amount of these respiratory viruses emitted in droplets. But the strongest evidence is in favor of masks come from studies of world scenarios in real life. A recent study published in Health Affairs, for example, compared a COVID-19 growth rate before and after mask mandates in 15 states and the District of Columbia. It found that mask mandates led to a slowdown in daily COVID-19 growth rate, which became more apparent over time. The first 5 days after a mandate, the daily growth rate slowed by 0.9 percentage points. Compared to the 5 days prior to the mandate, at 3 weeks, the daily growth rate had slowed by 2 percentage points. Another story looked at the coronavirus deaths across 198 countries and found that those with cultural norms or government policies favoring mask wearing had lower death rates. Two compelling cases also report that masks can prevent transmission in high-risk scenarios. In one case, a man flew from China to Toronto and tested positive for COVID-19. He had a dry cough and wore a mask on the flight, and all 25 people closest to him on the flight tested negative for COVID-19. In another case, in late May, 2 hairstylists had close contact with more than 100 clients while sick with COVID-19. Everyone wore a mask, and none of the clients tested positive. Now that I've talked about COVID-19 and the effectiveness of wearing a mask, I'd better wrap this speech up. In conclusion, COVID-19 is a strange and unique virus. It infects us and infects the people closest to us before we even realize we have a stuffy nose. Coronavirus is a dangerous virus, and it sure has done its part to shorten human life. Now let's do our part to shorten coronavirus's life and wear our masks. Thank you.